Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the week that was in pro wrestling. So that is going to be Monday Night Raw, NWA Power, and AEW Collision. That's right, no Dynamite this week. I ended up watching Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals for the NBA. Probably going to do the same thing for Game 2 tonight. Let's go Knicks. So no SmackDown review. So instead it's going to be Collision, which was on yesterday. And thankfully no stoppage, which was weird. So let's get it started with Monday Night Raw. We start off with the history of Seth's group, so that's Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, and their issues with CM Punk, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso, including that brawl to end last week. We start Raw proper with a Logan Paul promo, because of course we gotta have Logan Paul. So he pretty much starts spitting facts that he's gonna beat Jey Uso on Saturday. He's going to be the champion. And then he went on a rant about Jey Uso beating Gunther at WrestleMania. 4 letters, 1 word. You got 2 brain cells between you. Jey cannot handle the weight of being the champion. I so far have knocked out Jey 3 times backstage. And I'm going to do it a 4th time this coming Saturday and become and before he can get a word out comes former world heavyweight champion Gunther and future challenger, because he has a title shot. I want to say it's the week after main event, or it's like the week right before Money in the Bank. I cannot remember. Anyway, so he comes out, gets on the microphone, he says, "Oh, you seem confident here. Confidence is good. Most people should show you more respect. You're a self-made social media megastar." That's a tongue twister for you. Say that 5 times fast right now. He continues, "There are things I can learn from you." Then Logan Paul starts kind of gloating. He says, "I'm business. I'm good for it." Then Gunther continues, "There's things I can learn from you. You can teach me on the social medias, getting headlines. Logan Paul for world champion would be great for business." Basically, I don't even know what I wrote here. Gunther continues, "But that's all it is for you. It's business. To me, it's very personal. Beating Jey Uso is very personal to me. Take that away from me, I take it personally. Look at you. I see no heart in those eyes. If you beat Jey and we square off in a couple weeks in Arizona, and I'm going to eat you alive." So Gunther gets out of the ring. Logan Paul is talking a lot of smack in the ring, saying, "Oh, you're walking away, you scared of the sand," blah, blah, blah. Then we hear the big crowd pop as Jey Uso slides into the ring behind Logan Paul. Logan turns around, eats a super kick, and he sells it beautifully. I'll say that. So then Jey gets on the mic, stands over Logan, and says, "Fat, I'll see you on Saturday. And Gunther, I'll see you in Phoenix." So that was a pretty interesting opening segment, helping to build not only to Saturday, but to future events. Now, I'm not 100% sure when WWE is going to be in Phoenix. I assume it's this coming Monday, but I could be very, very wrong. But either way, it should be very entertaining. Then we get the highlight of the night from the women's tag team match from last week's main event. We then see earlier in the evening footage of Roxanne Perez officially signing to Raw. That's a big old get for Raw, with Julia going to SmackDown, which... interesting breaking up those two so early, but it is what it is. Then we see Jey Uso. He's walking down a corridor in the back. And then he runs into Paul Heyman, the wise man. And Heyman says to him, "Well, that was interesting." I am not doing a Heyman imitation this whole time. I will only laugh. Anyway, so he says, "I want to talk to you about facts. Everyone here says I betrayed Roman and Punk. Let me tell you this. Tonight, you fight Breakker. The title isn't on the line. But Breakker isn't looking for the title?" So Jey Uso stops him, says, "Whether it's you, Paul, or Gunther, you're short term." No, this is still Heyman. "Long-term plans for the world title is Seth Rollins." And then Jey kind of imitates hitting Paul, and he walks off. So, Seth Rollins getting... Here's my one issue with this. Clearly stating that Braun isn't interested in the world title kind of gives away what's going on in the main event. And don't worry, I'll get to that in a minute. But shouldn't he be interested in the world title? I mean, he was just on a great run with the Intercontinental title. Why not move him up a level? And I'll get into why this promo missed me off in the main event, because it is very much connected. So, next up, we have a little tag team action, players. As we got Penta teaming up with AJ Styles, in which never thought I'd see the day that would happen, as they take on JD McDonough and Finn Balor of the Judgment Day. And this was a fun little match. Everyone's got great chemistry together. Near the end, we get the usual Finn Balor setup, the drop kick, the coup de grace, which he misses, Penta with a big old super kick. JD then rolls out of the ring, gets a chair, which distracts the referee as he tries to bring it in. Carlito then grabs Penta by the mask, trying to rip it off his head. AJ and Penta with stereo dives. Penta with a middle rope destroyer, which... that was crazy. And then in comes El Grande Americano. Hits a couple headbutts on Penta. Slides him back in the ring. Finn Balor with a coup de grace to pick up the win. Can we have one clean finish? One. Like, good lord, this is getting frustrating. And, yeah, I'm going to throw a spoiler alert for the main event. There's interference in the main event as well. Like, good lord, can we have one clean win? One. And look, I get it. You want to kind of keep everyone looking good. Someone has to eat a pin. Someone. Anyway, so we'll get to the rest of the show later. So then we get an Io Sky backstage interview, and it's good to see her again. And she says, I know what it takes to win the Money in the Bank. I'm ready for anyone who comes my way. This brings in Becky Lynch, who says, you haven't beaten me out there. I hope you're ready for me. Then Io looks her right in the eye and says, I'll be ready for anyone. As Becky Lynch makes her entrance for her match. And we'll get to that in a moment. Before that, we hear a little Logan Paul. He's in the back. He's on the phone with somebody. Probably one of his crew. He says, I don't want to be here anymore. Pick me up, pick me up. Like he's some little kid wanting his mom to pick him up from some birthday party he wasn't invited to. Then in walks Seth Rollins, of all people. And he says, I know you don't want to do this. You got your big match coming up this weekend. Jey Uso is getting hurt tonight. And whether he walks out or he gets peeled off in a stretcher, he's not going to be 100% for Saturday. Get past Jay and Gunther, and I'm waiting on the other side. Maybe we'll run it back at WrestleMania for the world title. Then Seth walks off. Logan then kind of strokes his chin like an evil genius. So, I plumb forgot Logan and Seth had a match at WrestleMania not long ago. Which is wild. So next matchup, we got a triple threat match for a qualifier on the next Money in the Bank spot. So we have Becky Lynch, Natalya, which is always good to see her, fresh off of her challenge for the NWA Women's title. We'll get to that. Maybe not in this NWA review, but once the Crockett Cup starts, that's a match we're getting, which is insane. And the last participant in this match, Roxanne Perez, which it is nice to see her in here. Now, at first we see Becky trying to convince Roxanne to team up to take out Natalya. Eventually, Becky gets tossed to the outside. Couple of surprise roll-up attempts. Becky gets back in, attempts the manhandle slam, that gets blocked. Attempts the disarmer, that gets blocked into a Roxanne Perez crossface, which that looked gnarly as heck. Everyone's trying to lock in their submission finishers, which is crazy. Natalya with an impressive surfboard stretch, in which you kind of, what you do is you lock in each of your opponent's limbs and just lean back. It's a wild sight. She attempts the sharpshooter that gets blocked into the disarmer by Becky, but Roxanne breaks it up. Becky attempts a knee drop that misses. Natalya goes for a sharpshooter that gets countered into a takedown, couple of strikes, big old suplex, a couple of baseball slides, a dive. Getting back in. Perez attempts a leg sweep that gets blocked into a clothesline for a 2 count. Natalya attempts the sharpshooter again. That gets blocked. Perez with a big moonsault onto both of her opponents for a 2 count. Becky attempts the manhandle slam again. That gets blocked into a Pop Rocks attempt, but that gets blocked again. Becky eventually does hit the manhandle slam, but only for a 2 count. Then we get a corner pop rocks suplex combination by Perez and Natalya, which only gets a 2 count. That was impressive. Natalya attempts a superplex, only for 2. Tries to locks in a sharpshooter on Perez. Becky breaks it up. Goes for the disarmer. That gets blocked into a roll-up for a 1. Natalya with a clothesline. Stacks both Roxanne and Becky Lynch on top of one another with a double sharpshooter. But Becky gets in the ropes. Roxanne doesn't at first, but eventually she does. Roxanne with a roll-up, but Becky breaks it up. Hits the manhandle slam. And then Lyra Valkyria comes out, pulls Becky Lynch off the pin attempt. They brawl on the outside. Natalya and Roxanne are in the inside. Natalya with a takedown, an attempted sharpshooter, but that gets blocked, with Perez hitting the pop rocks for the win. And at that point, we see Becky and Lyra just brawling up the ramp. Again, more interference. And look, I get it. It's triple threat. Anything goes. But good Lord, can we have not so many interferences? Even if it does make a little sense, let's mix it up a little bit. Anyway, so next we see Jey Uso. He's chilling in the locker room when Sami Zayn rolls up. And he says, you got your matches with Logan and Gunther looming. We'll handle Braun and Seth this weekend. Tonight, take care of business and know we got your back. Then we see the Alpha Academy in Adam Pearce's office with Tozawa clearly stating he wants this match with Rusev. And then Adam Pearce does the usual comedy GM thing. Are you sure? Are you sure? Dude, he said it. Let him go. So in walks Chad Gable and Ivy Nile, with Gable saying it's going to be nice to see the Academy put down for good. He then turns to Pierce and says, the Creeds got their title match next week. How about me and Ivy get in some Money in the Bank qualifiers? Adam Pearce is like, shot after shot after shot. What are you doing? So then in walks the New Day, who says, yeah, we got that tag match with your boys. The title, Chad Gable says, the titles are coming home with us. But maybe, just maybe, no one wants to see the Raiders win. So, are we going to see some collusion with the New Day and the Creeds next week? I guess we shall see. So, next matchup, we got Sheamus making his long-awaited in-ring return, taking on Grayson Waller, who hits... I mean, this is pretty much the Sheamus show. Although Grayson Waller does get his rolling flatliner in. But at one point, we see both on the outside. You see Theory kind of walk up to Sheamus. To distract him, which gives Waller enough time to get an advantage. Sheamus with a white noise on the apron attempts the 10 beats of the Ballery, but his arm gets caught by Waller. Gives him an arm wringer right over the ring post. Then at one point, Waller is looking to leave. Austin Theory gets in his way. Waller gets back into the ring. Eats a 10 beats of the Bowery and a bro kick for your winner, Sheamus. Now, I'm going to say this. This was not a bad way to go. Because Theory didn't, directly interfere. But it was enough to sway the match, which I'm okay with. And this is why I say, let's mix up the interference spots a little bit. Make it, not so obvious. Then we get the weirdest part of the night as Indiana Pacers player Tyrese Halliburton, in which, see you later tonight, big man. He has a via satellite interview, which I have kind of missed these, in which he reveals that he's going to be an upcoming DLC character in WWE 2K25, which, that's pretty neat. Oh, and he also WWE also shows an interaction, Halliburton and, not Mitchell Robinson. I'm sorry, I don't know basketball that well. He's one of the better Knicks this year. I forget. And they had an interaction on SmackDown in, I want to say it was in December. It was definitely right before the Royal Rumble. And they were in MSG, which, that's pretty cool. Anyway, Halliburton then compared the Knicks-Pacers rivalry to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, which, I'm sorry, that's kind of funny. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure this rivalry is very contested. I don't think it's as big as, say, Knicks-Celtics, at least. But that's just me. Although, let's face it, I am not a basketball guy. So, anyway, then we go for a Gunther interview, or so we thought. Before Gunther can get a word in walks Seth Rollins. And he says, "It's been a while since we've shared the same space. I seen the work you did with the World Heavyweight title. That was some pretty good stuff." So Gunther then stops him, says, "I've heard about your long-term plan. You're pretty short-sighted. I'm the future here. I've come here for... this is Seth now. No. I've come here more for professional courtesy. I'm going to find the world title again, and you'll make yourself a target." Gunther then replies, "I cannot wait. I eagerly await it." Bruh. Give me Seth or Gunther again. I don't care. That match was awesome. Next up, we got our next Money in the Bank qualifying match. We got Rhea Ripley, Kairi Sane, and Zoe Stark. And, oh boy, this was scary. So Zoe kind of early on goes for her springboard dropkick. She kind of runs... participants. Yeah, we got participants, right? And she knocks into Kairi, I think, and then she landed a little weird. And so the participants are backed off by officials. And Zoe is taken out of the match. I forget the injury she suffered, but Zoe, I'm pulling for you. Hopefully you have a full, speedy recovery. I'll be rooting for you. So it basically gets turned into a one-on-one contest between Rhea Ripley and Kairi Sane, who is coming back from her own injury. And these two, being that this was an on-the-fly decision, put on a really decent match with Rhea Ripley almost immediately locking in the prison lock, which I forgot she had that in her arsenal. Kairi gets out of it, hits the elbow in the corner, goes for the elbow drop, but Rhea gets her knees up. Rhea with some big old elbows, strikes. Kairi attempts the back fist. That gets caught by Rhea. Headbutt, Riptide for the win and the qualifier. So, Rhea Ripley. What do we got? We got Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, and Roxanne Perez now qualified for the women, which, honestly, low-key, that's kind of stacked. Like, that's awesome. So then we get a little rundown of the card for Raw next week, which looks really, really good. Then we get a Rusev video promo, which I don't mind, but it's giving me, Rusev the Redeemer vibes from AEW. Anyway, so he says, Tozawa, I admire your courage. I am trying to do what's best to fix myself. I was born in the eye of the sun. Now you have my attention. You should have just walked away. Next week I embrace the challenge. I forgive stupidity and erase you from existence. Tozawa, you got yourself into some trouble, big man. And don't get me wrong, I love Tozawa. He's a great character. He's an underrated wrestler. He's going to get destroyed by Rusev next week. So next up, we see Judgment Day. They're kind of in the back. Just kind of hanging out, standing around. I don't know. So we see Finn Balor walk up and say, look at what I got. Hold on. And then Rodriguez says, hold on, what is she doing here? Pans out, Roxanne Perez is standing there. Finn Balor says, I wanted to take a moment and introduce Perez to the Judgment Day. And as Dom said, we definitely need more numbers, and Liv will obviously appreciate this. Raquel then says, I think we should talk to Liv right now. Roxanne continues, she's clearly not a part of Judgment Day. Actually, this is Finn still. And she's still here to help. And she has gifts. So Roxanne walks off screen for a minute. Comes back. She's got a big white box. Hands it to Dom, who opens it to find chicken nuggets. Anyway, that's funny. She then has a little, gift bag thing. Hands it to Carlito. He puts his entire hand in there. Pulls out an apple. And he's looking at it like it's a gift from God. Then Roxanne knocks it out of his hand. Like a mother disciplining her child. Carlito then looks in the bag again. Reaches in. Pulls out another apple. Takes a bite. So Raquel turns back to Roxanne. Says, okay, we've been introduced. You can leave now. So Roxanne kind of rolls her eyes and leaves. Raquel then turns back to Finn, says, Liv will hear about this. And Finn replies, I cannot wait. And he's got a big old shit-eating grin on his face. Yeah, we're definitely heading for a big break of the Judgment Day. And honestly, it's about dang time. And find Alamo for Monday Night Raw. It's our main event, a non-title matchup. As we have main event Jey Uso taking on Braun Breaker. And honestly, Breaker kind of dominated most of this match. Hitting big old body slams and attempted to hit his big high-speed clothesline. Eventually, Jey Uso does fight back, hitting an interesting Pele kick. Then getting a hip attack for a 2 count. Goes for a dive. He gets caught. Then Braun tosses him into the announce table and then the ring post. And then Braun with his, not even springboard, just straight clothesline off the apron. Gets him back in. Braun attempts a powerbomb that gets blocked into a couple knees. A Samoan drop for a 2 count. Braun goes for a superplex that gets blocked right into a Frankensteiner, which gets me every time. Only gets a 2. Braun then running up for the spear attempt. Jey blocks it with a super kick midair. But sadly, that only gets a 2. Then at that point, we see Paul Heyman get up on the apron. He distracts Jey while Braun gets a chair. Jey then sees him, super kicks the chair into Braun's face. Jey goes for a dive. Heyman grabs Jey Uso's leg. Jey then goes face to face with Heyman. Heyman is then takes off his jacket and is squaring up, which I don't think I've ever seen that. Then out comes Seth Rollins from out of nowhere, attacking Jey Uso from behind. So that is the match, as Jey Uso technically won, but he gets beat down post-match. He does fight back a little bit, but the numbers are too great. This brings out Sami Zayn, who gets on the apron. He doesn't get in the ring yet, as we hear, "Look in your eye, what do you see?" As CM Punk comes out to the biggest pop I think I've ever heard. I think it rivals the one where Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out to try and take out the Alliance during that whole storyline. So Punk joins Sami Zayn on the apron. Eventually they get in and they just brawl. And they brawl into the crowd. I think they're almost to the concourse, where we cut right back to Jey Uso. He's got the world title over his shoulder. When out of off screen we see Logan Paul hit one more KO punch to Jey Uso. And for whatever reason, Logan Paul was bleeding. So, yeah, that was a very interesting episode of Raw. And I'm going to say this. Whoever's in charge of creative, I think it's Triple H. Can we do something a bit more creative with the interference spots? Like, they were all over this show. We haven't seen a clean finish on Raw in a while. Especially in the main event. Like, give us 1 or 2 clean wins. I don't care where. Just give us something. For God's sakes. So, like I said, that was Raw. Was it entertaining? Sure. Was it also very frustrating? Absolutely. So next we go to NWA Power. And this is kind of a warm-up for the Crockett Cup, which is upcoming. Definitely very excited for this. As our first match is Casanova. I didn't quite catch his first name. He's the current Exodus Pro World Champ. teaming with Fenrir, who I guess they're rivals, taking on former United States Tag Team Champions Daisy Kill and Talos. And Talos definitely starts off the match, and he just tosses these two guys around for a little bit. Eventually, Fenrir does fight back. Hits an impressive drop kick. Casanova gets in. Eats a big old suplex for a 1 count. Hits a couple arm drags. But Talos tags in Daisy. Fenrir tags in Casanova. And they just trade chops for a little while. Until Daisy Kill gets advantage. Tags in Talos, who hits a big old clothesline. Attempts a splash, but that misses. Casanova goes for a crossbody. Talos catches him, hitting a backdrop on him. Tags in Daisy Kill, gets some strikes in. Daisy Kill and Talos take turns just beating the heck out of this guy. Until Talos hits a big old sidewalk slam. Daisy Kill comes back in, hits a big arm drag. Locks in a wrist lock, but Casanova gets his foot on the ropes. Actually, no, Daisy Kill attempts a pin, puts his feet in the ropes, but the ref catches him. Daisy Kill with a slingshot into the corner. Tags in Big Talos. Hits a stomp. Attempts a choke slam, but that gets blocked into a drop kick. Partners tag each other in. Trading strikes. Daisy Kill with some head smashes into a clothesline. Fenrir tags in. And then Fenrir turns around, pushes Casanova off the apron to the floor. Daisy Kill grabs an accordion, of all things. Hits Fenrir with it. And then Talos with the craziest looking powerbomb since maybe Kevin Nash to pick up the win for his team. Then we go to this very, very weird series of interviews, I guess. Where it's Aaron Stevens presents. And he talks about what flavor of ice cream he is. Other people saying what kind of animal he would be. And say he dresses well. This whole thing is very, very strange. And don't get me wrong, I've been really liking the on-site promos. This was weird. I don't really know what the point of this was. If it was just, mind games. But, yeah, we'll see one more of these later, and it's a bit more straightforward. Anyway, next matchup, and it's for the NWA television title. And if Carson Drake wins this, he can cash in his title for a World Heavyweight title shot. However, he's got to get by Baron Von Storm and Pretty Boy Smooth. And honestly, the big guys just go at it at first. And they are just kicking the boot out of one another. Drake gets back in. Pretty Boy Smooth locks in. No, Baron Von Storm locks in a sleeper on Carson Drake. And then Pretty Boy Smooth locks in his own on Tony Storm. Tony Storm. Yeah. Baron Von Storm. Looks like they're both fading. Eventually they break it up. Pretty Boy Smooth with a really good looking Samoan drop. it looked like Baron von Storm was about to lock in the Iron Claw. Wags and fingers instead. Goes up to the corner. Pop the trunk. In honor of his fallen friend. Then Storm locks in the Iron Claw to the referee. And then that's when we see Pretty Boy Smooth is on the outside with talking with EC3. Pretty Boy Smooth drags Storm out of the ring. And then Beretta, who is an ex-Exodus Pro guy, has a little face-off with Smooth. Then Storm grabs Pretty Boy Smooth, brings him back in the ring. Actually, no, this is to Carson Drake. Locks in the Iron Claw. Just holds it in until eventually, ding, 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 the time limit has expired. Still your NWA television champion, Carson Drake. And he's celebrating a little bit. And then he calls in the interviewer. And then he says, "You can't beat me." And by you, I mean you, Thomas Latimer. So, yep, that is a very big challenge. We shall see when he cashes that in. Then we get our Around the Territory segment, which I like seeing stuff like that. It's very nice. Then we have our last Aaron Stevens Presents segment, where he's talking about his future title match with Tom Latimer. Saying how it'll be the toughest challenge I'll have, blah, blah, blah. It definitely was a bit more straightforward. Then on an image, it is revealed that next week we're going to have this title match, and it's going to be a mint julep match. I have no idea what that means, but I am intrigued, to say the least. Anyway, next match, which is our main event match, I believe. Yeah, it's the main event match. We got another warm-up for the Crockett Cup, as we got Mims, our national champion, teaming up with his manager, getting in the ring for the first time in a while, Black G's, taking on the powerhouse duo of Mike Mondo and Slade. And this was fun. Seeing Slade and Mondo throw G's around for a little bit. That was always kind of funny. Eventually, Mims does get in, and it was pretty much a big old hoss fight. Both teams eventually do get their stuff in, with eventually Mondo hitting gut check time to pick up the win for his team. Post-match, both men attacks G's, who's on the mat. Mims eventually regains his footing and runs them both off. So, yeah, Crockett Cup shaping up to be something really fun. I can't wait. And then we had this clunker of a segment, as it's the debate for who's going to be the new territory president. And we're down to our final three. It's Kenzie Page, Joe Kazana, and Pastor CeeLo. So they all kind of get their time, but it's like, you know, we have Kenzie first, then Kazana, then CeeLo, back to Kazana, back to Page. It's very out of order and weird. Anyway, so Kenzie Page starts it, saying Joe Kazana. Every time there's a strong woman and a cheating man, you all pick wrong. And if you work for Crossfire, you're going to get everything you want. Then it's get passed to Gazana, who says, you want someone who's been in the wrestling business and does everything by the book? You vote for me. GCP is the number one territory in the NWA. And then it gets passed to Pastor CeeLo, who pretty much says Exodus Pro is the top territory in the NWA. Ain't you in some state? Don't you two share a state? We are the only territory in Cleveland. A vote for me brings enlightenment, and it brings everything you can imagine. And believe in me, you get everything. Then it gets passed back to Joe Gazana. Like I said, it's very awkward. He says to Pastor CeeLo, I know plenty of people who do your shtick every day, just like every shyster on TV. Not one time had I promised anything just to be elected, and you only hear what you want, and you guys got plants out here, and you hear the crowd start booing. And we finish up with Kenzie Page, who says, you know who you're voting for? Lay down and lose, because that's all you're good for. Alright. Like I said, it was very awkward and clunky, this debate. I wish they had a couple of podiums and then maybe laid out a little bit more time for it. Because this was just weird. I don't know. NWA was definitely fun. Besides that main event segment, that was very awkward and clunky. Hopefully we do figure out who gets to become the president of the territories, because I am getting a little tired of these segments. So, yeah, that was NWA. We now finish with AEW Collision. And I gotta say, AEW has been stepping up with their importance to Collision. And we start off with Adam Cole, baby, joining commentary. We'll get to his match at Double or Nothing in a little bit. But first, we got the FTR, Nigel McGuinness, and Daniel Garcia contract signing for Double or Nothing. And there's no table out there. It's just them standing around. Tony Schiavone. FTR comes out first. They're being seconded by Stokely Hathaway. Garcia's out second. He then waits for his partner, Nigel McGuinness, who looks like $1 million. Then as Tony Schiavone is about to hand FTR the contract, Stokely Hathaway takes it, and then FTR takes the microphone. And Dax Harwood says, no matter how much you stabbed us in the back, Danny, we still love you. You really want to throw that away for a nobody? You don't know how much trouble you're in, Nigel. You hide behind commentary. Well, Sunday, there is no commentary table to hide behind. And it's you, a shell of your former self, versus us, a team at the top of our game. Think about it. FTR then goes and signs the contract. Hands it over to Daniel Garcia, who signs it almost immediately. Then he brings up the microphone to his mouth, saying, oh, I'm having a little trouble hearing you guys. This gets a big old reaction from the crowd. Garcia continues, this is not something that simply goes away. I see you for what you are now. You turned your back on anyone who cared for you. And I'm standing up for everyone that has had enough of you. But you're right about one thing. You're one of the best teams in wrestling. But Sunday is going to be not going to be a match. It's going to be a fight. And Nigel, no matter what they say, I see the look in your eyes every time we pass. It's the same look you had when you wrestled Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson in the Ring of Honor. I know that you still got it. And if I'm not getting the Nigel I know you can be, don't sign the contract. So Nigel takes the microphone and the contract, says, well, I guess we'll find out Sunday. But before I sign this, I need your word that after Sunday, you don't touch Tony or me again. You don't even look at us again. Because if you do, I promise it'll be top guys out for good. And before Nigel can sign it, Dax takes the microphone back, says, whoa. Before we wrap this up, I want you to look me in the eyes and got to know this is what you want to do. Nigel, you got family to think about. You want us to finish the job. If you sign this, it's your blood on your hands. But before any of this can go down, you can always just go back to the announce table and this ends. And hell, maybe we can all be friends. Then Dax puts his hand on Nigel's shoulder. Nigel kind of bumps it off, says, don't you dare put your hands on me again. Dax pulls away, says, whoa, this is just business. If this was personal, I would have slapped the taste out of your mouth already. They then all just brawl. It's a big old fight. Garcia locks the Dragon Tamer in on Cash Wheeler. I don't know what Nigel locked into on Dax Harwood, but I'm just going to call it the London Lock for now because it sounds good. Then security comes in, breaks them all up, ushers FDR and Stokely up the ramp. Nigel then picks up the microphone and the contract. He says, come Sunday, I'll look into your soul. After Double or Nothing, this ends. As Nigel signs it. So, definitely a very different opening to Collision than I thought it would be. I'm definitely hyped for this matchup. It has been a very long time since I've seen Nigel McGuinness wrestle. So, this should be a fun little matchup. So next up, we got a pre-recorded Timeless Toni Storm promo where she said, Mina makes me feel more alive, but I've had a premonition. There is a consequence. Now I fight for my freedom, and after Sunday, we are finished. So very to the point for this coming matchup. Then we got a trios match, our first match of the evening. We got the Don Callis family being represented by Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, and Konosuke Takeshita, taking on Truth Magnum, Turbo Floyd of the Outrunners. Always great to see them as they team with Ring of Honor champion Bandido. And this match was honestly really, really good. A little bit chaotic, but definitely some really good action, especially between Takeshita and Bandido, in which at one point Bandido countered a blue thunder bomb, which that was absolutely nuts. Takeshita attempts a brainbuster. Outrunners come in and block it. Outrunners with drop kicks to Roppongi Vice. Bandido with I'm going to call it a GTS kick. A super kick, a suplex, and then a drop kick. Then we get Turbo Floyd and Trent Beretta tagging in, with the Outrunners doing some big scoop slams, and their Mega Powers handshake into the elbow drop. But then we see Romero hit a big cutter. Outrunners attempt the recall, which is a great name for a finisher. That gets blocked. Then on the outside, we see Lance Archer, who isn't in the match, take out Bandito ringside. Then it turns into pretty much a beatdown of the Outrunners, where Roppongi Vice and Takeshita hit the Liger Driver, I think it's called. They didn't say the name of their finisher. I do apologize. For the win for the Don Callis family. We then get a video vignette of Gabe Kidd technically joining the Death Riders, but I don't think that's really official yet. But apparently he is not in Anarchy in the Arena. But that doesn't mean I don't think he'll be involved in some way. So next up, we got a TBS title match as Mercedes Moné takes on CMLL's Rhea Isi. I do not know how to pronounce that. I apologize. This is my first time seeing Isi, as I don't really catch CMLL as much as I would like. Start with trading roll-ups, which that's honestly a little weird. Isi then starts kind of dancing. Moné then with a takedown tries to lock in the statement maker, but Isi gets out of it. Hits a takedown of her own. Couple of chops. Moné with a leg drop for a 2 count. Moné then with a couple of leg... this is Isi. Hits an implant buster, followed by a couple of knee lifts. She then attempts a crossbody from the middle rope. That gets caught by Moné, who hits a codebreaker midair, only gets a 2 count. Moné then counters a Death Valley driver with a backstabber, only gets a 2. Isi attempts a Hurricane Rana, that gets caught into a big slam into the statement maker for the submission win and redemption by Moné. Post-match, Moné keeps the hold locked in. The ref eventually breaks it up, and as Moné is celebrating, who comes out? It's Jamie Hayter. She's on the ramp. They jaw for a little bit. Then before Hayter and Moné can meet, security gets in their way, blocking their path, as they're clearly trying to get to one another. So, definitely interesting matchups coming. Then we get Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara hyping up their match for Double or Nothing for the tag titles, which, I'm going to say this, that's going to be an underrated match. Could easily be match of the night, I think. Next up is a match that, honestly, I thought could have been a number 1 contenders match somewhere. You got Kyle Fletcher taking on Jay Lethal. And honestly, these two had a low-key, really, really awesome matchup. They went back and forth with every move they can do. Fletcher with then on the outside with a powerbomb into the apron. Gets Jay Lethal back in. Has a face-off with Adam Cole, who's still sitting ringside. A couple times, Jay Lethal going for the figure 4. That gets blocked. Lethal attempts the lethal injection, which is still crazy. He can still pull that off. but that gets blocked into a roll through. Eventually, Jay Lethal does lock in the figure 4, but Fletcher makes it to the ropes. Jay Lethal attempts the big old Macho Man elbow drop, but that gets blocked by Fletcher. Eventually, he does get an elbow drop, attempts another one. Fletcher gets his knees up, hits a big old boot in the corner, followed by the sheer drop brainbuster for the win. Then we see Don Callis, along with Josh Alexander, and I think it's just Lance Archer. I don't think Roppongi Vice was out there. And Takeshita was out there for a post-match attack on Lethal. Adam Cole then gets off a commentary. He gets up on the apron. Callis family are urging him to come in. Then out comes Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong to run off the Callis family. So we'll get to that in a minute. As Adam Cole rejoins commentary, he then not getting ahead of myself yet. Actually, he does this right here. He issues a challenge to the Don Callis family for Double or Nothing for a trios match. But before we get to that, we got the Paragon. So that's Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, taking on James Drake and Zach Gibson of the Grizzled Young Veterans. It has been too long since I've seen these two guys on my television, and they worked so dang well with this team. Like, these two teams really looked like they wanted to destroy each other. Kind of near the end, James Drake hits a codebreaker on Kyle. Then Zach Gibson, we see, hit a coast to coast on him as well. If you don't know what that is, the opponent sat in the opposite side of the ring post, goes up to the opposite end, hits a drop kick from one end to another, which is crazy. Gibson attempts a neck breaker that gets blocked. Drake tags himself in, tries to attempt to block the tag. Strong gets in, volley of backbreakers, hits a face slam for a 2, goes for an angle slam that gets blocked into a big boot. That's where the coast to coast is for a 2 count. They go back and forth for a while, with eventually the Paragon hitting the high-low for the victory. The challenge happens after the match. My mistake. So then we see the highlights from the Big Bill, Brian Keith versus Gates of Agony street fight from last week, in which that was awesome. Then we see one-on-one, we see Josh Alexander taking on A.R. Fox. We see Don Callis join commentary and accept Adam Cole's challenge, as it'll be the Paragon. So that's Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly taking on Josh Alexander, Konosuke Takeshita, and I think he said Lance Archer, for a trios match at Double or Nothing. So while this was the Josh Alexander show, Fox did get some stuff in, including a multitude of cutters. One point, A.R. Fox goes for a drop kick. Josh Alexander catches him in midair, locks in the ankle lock, but Fox gets out. Fox with a couple of cutters. Big dive, gets him back in. Attempts the 450, that misses. Fox attempts an elbow. That misses. Fox with a cutter. Josh Alexander catches it. Hits him with a big suplex. A power bomb. And a C4 spike to pick up the win. And as he's celebrating, we see Josh Alexander roll out of the ring. Don Callis still has a headset on right next to him. Jaws with Adam Cole for a bit until he takes it off and they go backstage. So, a nice fun little matchup. I was hoping that would go a little bit longer, but AR Fox is there to make people look good. We then get an awesome hype video for Will Ospreay versus Hangman Page. That match is going to be absolutely nuts. And apparently that's going to be the main event for Double or Nothing, which that should rule. Then we get this very interesting match as it's a little CMLL showcase. We got Volador Jr., who I know from TNA, Magnus, and Ruhijo. I do hope I'm pronouncing that right. In trios action, taking on Mystico, Templario, and Mascara Dorado. If you don't remember Mascara Dorado, he was, oh God, what was his name? I forget his name. Anyway, this was Lucha Libre at his best. I tried my absolute best to keep up with everything, but with Lucha Libre not having tags into the match, it was kind of hard to keep track of everybody. But yeah, this match was crazy looking. Finish came with, I believe, Magnus attempting an implant buster that gets caught into a Hurricane Rana and a shooting star press by Dorado for the win for his team. A nice little Lucha Libre showcase for those who want a little pure lucha, which, honestly, I love Lucha Libre. It may be a little faster than what I'm used to, but I'm going to say this. Look for this match online somewhere. It's probably on the TNT app or on Max somewhere. Go look it out. Look for it. So after this, we get the challenge from, I believe it was Penelope Ford, for a tag match with her teaming up with Megan Bayne to take on Anna Jay and Harley Cameron at Double or Nothing on the pre-show, which, good to see the pre-show match is getting some love. Then we get a little Double or Nothing card rundown, which, that always looks cool. We then get a Chris Statlander promo, and she's in some stairwell somewhere. She says, "Well, what did I do to you? I've made some mistakes in my life, but be careful who you push, because they may push back. So that rivalry isn't done. I'm in. Let's keep that going." And now, finally, we get to our main event of the evening, as we got Commander teaming up with Speedball Mike Bailey. No Kevin Knight, because he is, I think he's in Best of the Super Juniors in New Japan. So he is out. And they are taking on Dralistico and Roosh of LFI. I have no idea where the Beast Mortis has been. I hope he's okay. Yeah, this match was absolutely crazy. We see during the entrance, we see just Roosh coming out. Then we see Dralistico attack Speedball and Commander from behind before the bell. Bell rings, and it's just a little brawl at ringside. They're throwing each other into everything. Roosh then takes somebody's drink, I don't know what it is, and just hucks it at Speedball Mike Bailey. Eventually, they do get In the ring, Roosh pretty much tags in immediately. Hits a few big chops and a big old boot. Commander eventually tags in, hitting a big old double drop kick. Speedball and then Commander do a couple of dives, big dive spots. On the third one, Roosh and Dralistico move. They get back in the ring. Bunch of chops from both people. Big Guarana by Dralistico. Roosh attempts a senton that whiffs. Commander with a big drop kick tags in Dralistico, tags in Roosh. He and Commander trade elbows for a little bit. Roosh then with a takedown, couple elbows, stomps in the corner. Looks like he's going for the bullhorns, but he stops short. Hits him with a low kick. Tags in Dralistico, who hits an enziguri. Speedball with a super kick, a moonsault, big old dive to the outside, gets him back in. Shooting star, only for a 2. Tags in Commander, who hits a middle rope destroyer for a 2 count. Roosh with some headbutts, big old knee. Then with a facebuster off of the second rope, which that was gnarly looking. Roosh attempts a big knee, but he hits it into the ring steps instead. Commander with a Hurricane Rana, tags in Speedball, sets it up, hits the tornado kick, then Commander with the rope lock shooting star press to pick up the win for his team. And then as they're celebrating a win, you hear the coin flip. That means we got the Continental Champion coming out. He comes out on the ramp. He holds his title up. Then Speedball meets him on the ramp and just kicks Okada right in the face. Dives on him to the outside. And then he sees the title. Picks it up. Holds it over his head. Claiming victory already. Love you, Speedball. You're not beating Okada. Overall, that was a very, very good episode of Collision. I definitely recommend a lot from this show, especially that CMLL showcase. That was a ton of fun. So, yeah, that'll do it from me. Until next... Monday is going to be my review for Saturday night's main event, which I'm going to try to watch on Saturday. More than likely, I'm going to catch it Sunday, maybe during the day. And then we are back to normal next week. And until that time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.